more, dear laddies. I'm autistic, and this is a case of autism. I feel like I insulted an entire nationality. Anyway, hi. If you haven't noticed, there's been a lot of people who are big in the online space who have been coming out here and there about how they're actually neurodivergent in a lot of different ways. Now, I know for a lot of people, coming out is not this new phenomenon, but it seems that a lot of people have been coming out in terms of their neurodivergency, whether it was information withheld or they were just tested. A lot of it seems to be around ADHD, but there has been some, most recently, and who I'm probably going to use as the main example for this, Jacksepticeye, who have come out as autistic. From what I have gathered, there have been really two camps to the reactions that have permutated the discussion of this. And it's the same two discussions I see anytime anyone ever brings up that they're autistic. One, yeah, no shit. Or two, but you don't really seem like it. It's either the most non-surprising thing in the world, or it's the most gatekeepery shit imaginable. This has always been the case. This is nothing new. And it's not really what I mainly want to focus on. What I want to focus on is, why does this phenomenon seem to be happening so frequently? Why are there so many online personalities that just straight up get diagnosed? Now, I have no scientific actual research that I've done for this, so everything I'm going to say is purely speculation and my own opinion based on the prior research I've done in the past and my own experience. And to me, the answer is quite simple. You really have to be of a certain mindset to be able to handle, well, one, online culture in general, but two, be able to churn out content frequent enough, and at least good enough, to attract an audience. That unique personality that stands out from the norm is pretty much essential to the autistic identity. And people find fascination with things that are not regular. And because of that, it leads to this gravitation towards people who are not. And those who are not, or are more willing to challenge, are those who do not subscribe to the social idealization of what is typical. Now, I myself am not exactly huge when it comes to the grand scheme of things, especially when compared to Mr. Jack's films over here. But at the same time, I seem to have found people who enjoy my content specifically for the unique way that I tend to permeate discussion. Now, you could say that it's just because I know how to bring about these discussions, just because I'm knowledgeable about them. But if I'm gonna be honest, the reason I'm really able to do that in the first place is because, and I know I'm gonna get some strange looks for this, I already talk to myself by myself, even when not recording, because that's just how I organize my thoughts. So I've technically had a lifetime of practice for this very unique circumstances, which this skill set would actually be deemed useful. Yeah, it's not really a neurotypical thing to do. I know, like, there are some people that might contribute, like Sean, like his real name is Sean. They would contribute Sean's success to him getting that one shout out from PewDiePie or whatever, but like it has been pretty much disproven like multiple times that like he first of all, he wasn't the only one shouted out in that situation, but he was the only one that stuck around as long as he did and garnered as big of a following as he did, because he just so happened to, one, keep doing what he was doing, but also two, just had such strong enough of a personality that people just naturally gravitated towards it. So that is my personal theory as to why this is occurring so often. I'm sure a lot of people are probably thinking, does this mean anything in particular? That like the internet is just like full of a bunch of really popular weird guys? And then I say, like, well, first of all, who cares? It doesn't matter. But also, second, I feel like a lot of people forget that we're on the freaking internet. It's kind of like the hot spot for social outcasts, regardless of what those Instagram posts might have you believe. The people who are pretty much cast out of what most would consider acceptable tend to find recluse acceptance within a community of like-minded individuals all around the world. So that's just kind of how that came to be in the first place. I unfortunately expect that to continue simply because, at least presently, the society we find ourselves in, I said the word. Yet you exist! The society we find ourselves in are very much still, I'll just say it, ableist. Even if they don't really mean it. Even those who seek to try and help, it's still just an ableist-minded society. I don't want this discussion to permeate into that. I'm going to refrain from explaining why I feel that way. So we'll have to chalk it up to the classic source. Trust me, bro. But here's the real kicker: is this a good thing? Are more people with autism getting more of a spotlight a good thing? I want to say yes. I want to say yes because ultimately the more people that get this exposure, the better. The only bit of hesitation I have when it comes to that is examples in which online coverage tends to focus on the ugly side. I won't be showing their real name or face, but if you've ever heard of World of T-Shirts, that guy from like New York or whatever, you'll probably know that is very clearly an example of someone neurodivergent who needs proper care, is not receiving it, and is in fact getting exploited for that neurodivergency for profit. And my heart aches for that guy because, like, obviously the stuff he does, like the jumping on cars and shit, like, is, you know, inexcusable. But he's kind of put into situations where he is purposefully egged on into doing that. And the caretakers just stand around recording on their phone, go, no, stop, please. Come on. Like, there are just as many frequent examples of those who are neurodivergent having very vulnerable moments or very exploitative moments be showcased around the internet, just as much as there are people who are just so happen to be autistic but are just doing their own thing. The problem is that because they don't act how you expect an autistic person to act, it's not really thought about or like brought up as much in conversation. So whenever someone acts out in a very reactionary sort of way, it leads to a lot of people circling around that more than anything. Ultimately, it really comes down to, if people are online, they are looking for entertainment. And it turns out that the more explosive behaviors tend to be a lot more entertaining and leave much more of a stigma. Now, don't get me wrong, alright? I love making people laugh. Half the reason I'm even on this platform to begin with is to make people at least go. But at the same time, it's kind of disheartening that a lot of people, and I'm not saying it's you. I'm not saying it's you, all right? I want to make that clear. I'm not saying it's you. But a lot of people tend to just view us as vehicles for entertainment. And whether or not we are putting on a performance like Sean, or we have episodes like the other individuals I mentioned, people are going to seek entertainment, and it just so happens that the stuff that is a lot more serious tends to come with more baggage. I myself might be, I guess I am technically a public figure at this point, but I try to do my best to set as good of an example as I possibly can for people in my situation. I'm only like one voice, so I can only do so much, especially with how broad of a spectrum that autism happens to be. And the only things I could say definitively about are the experiences and understandings that I have come to accumulate. So I implore you, if you have any sort of neurodivergency, whatever form that might be, and in whichever way you deem fitting, please share your experiences, end these stigmas, or at least try to suppress them as best you can. Okay, maybe suppress isn't the right word. Counter, I guess it's like, yeah, that's a lot better. Try to counteract these stigmas, because while public figures might be coming out more and more in droves, the more voices in general get shared, the more we can really hammer in, hey, we're just fucking people here. We're just regular fellas that are trying to coast through life like everyone else. And it's not that deep. So yeah, that's my thoughts and feelings about people like Jacksepticeye coming out as autistic, which, by the way, banger ass video he made. It's like so vindicating, the kind of stuff that he says. I'll leave a link to it at the end of this video if you haven't checked it out. Definitely recommend it. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and shit. How does old outro go? It was like a 5-stage process or something. It was like hit the, was it the like or the subscribe button like a boss? I forget. I do remember this part. High fives all around. Whoopee, whoopee. You probably couldn't see that on the screen. Goddamn. And I will see you guys in the next video. Until next time.
I like trains.